If beautiful ham like this is something you think only comes from the grocery store or a specialty butcher, stay tuned. I'm going to show you how to smoke your own gorgeous glazed hams at home if you own a smoker. This is not hard to do, and the results are absolutely delicious. Hey everyone, today we are going to talk about brining and smoking hams. If you love ham, if you love sliced ham or ham for dinner for a special occasion, we have been brining and smoking our own hams for about 7 years. And I'm going to walk you through how I brine and smoke our hams. These are a couple of hams. We have 3 of them here that are defrosted and ready to go in the brine. We just have our butcher cut the fresh leg roasts up into, these are usually about 8 to 12 pounds each. So you're gonna need to know how much they weigh, each one, because you will need to know that when you're making brine, and it will help you know how long to brine them for. You will want to write that down. What you're going to be doing is making a batch with about 3 quarts of water for every, so it's about a quart per pound. 3 quarts of water for every 3 to 4 pounds of meat. So I'm going to be making 21 quarts of water and adding the sugar and salt to make a brine for these 3 hams that we have here. So I thought I would show you my recipe and how simple it is if you have the space to do it. When I'm making my brines, since I'm gonna be starting with 21 quarts of water, I don't boil 21 quarts of water on the stove and make a whole big batch of brine because I don't have a pot that'll hold that much. So I have on the stove now, I have 8 quarts of water getting ready to boil, and I'm going to be adding organic brown sugar, and I'll give you the quantities here. I'll put them on the screen too. Canning and pickling salt, like that. And you will always need Prague #1 pink curing salt. What I'm going to do is add these to the 8 quarts of water that's boiling, and the other 13 quarts of water I'm going to divide. I don't have pots out yet, but I have my really big stock pot and actually just a clean, food-safe 5-gallon bucket. And I'm going to divide that other 13 quarts of just cold, plain water into those 2 other containers. And once that syrup, all of this has been put in and dissolved and cooled a little bit on the stove, I'll cool it a little bit, and then I'm going to divide it between these 2 bigger containers, and we're going to cool it all the way down. And then that's going to become the brine that we're going to put these hams in. The reason you want to know how much each of these weighs, and don't mess this up, I did this wrong once. You're going to be brining these for 12 hours per pound, but not how many pounds of meat. Like I have 28 pounds of meat here. I'm not going to do 28 times 12 because you'd be brining forever. You're going to brine, pick your largest ham and say this one is 10 pounds. I'm going to brine that for 120 hours, 10 times 12. So, which is 5 days. So kind of plan your timing too, because when they come out of the brine, they're going to want to be air dried and sit overnight, and then you start smoking the following morning. So what I have measured here is 10.5 tablespoons of, and it's all ready to go in, 10.5 tablespoons of the pink salt, 10.5 cups of organic brown sugar, light or dark, I don't have a preference, and just a hair under 8 cups of brining and pickling salt. And that is all going to go in the 8 quarts of water, and we're going to warm it up and keep it stirring and get it dissolved and make sure that that liquid is really clear and dissolved fully, and then just go ahead and turn off the heat and bring it down to temp, add it to the cold water, and we can get these in the cold water, and then they're going to go in the fridge. Make sure you have room in a refrigerator because these a 5-gallon bucket and a giant stock pot, you need some room. They're going to go in the fridge for 5 days, and then I will take them out and we'll continue with the smoking. So let's get over to the stove and I will show you how I do this. Okay, so this water is actually already boiling, and we're going to go ahead and put in the sugar, and some of this sugar is actually fairly solid, and I don't worry about trying to break it up. I'm pretty lazy. Just put it in, and I'm going to turn it down so it's not splashing all over. So there is your brown sugar going in, and then we're going to do the salt. That's just the regular white salt, and this is going to top this. This is my big 2-gallon cheese pot. There's the pink salt. And this is a lot. I mean, can you imagine trying to make 21 quarts of this on the stove? Not even my big pot won't hold that. So, and I don't have a 21 quart stock pot, I don't believe. So I'm going to just stir this a little bit until it is dissolved and the liquid is clear. So you can tell all the granules are dissolved into that. And then we're just going to let it cool down on the stove for a little bit. But what I'll do is split 13 quarts. I'll probably split, because 2 hams will go in this big 5-gallon bucket. 1 will go in this. So I'll probably split this accordingly so that we have an equal amount for brining. And then the hams are going to go in that once the brine is cooled off. So you're going to have the cold water in there. You're going to add this hot brine to it. Let that cool down all the way down to, you know, not cold, but at least down to room temp before we put the hams in. And then those are going to go out in an extra refrigerator that I have, and they're going to sit with, usually I'll just put a plate on top of the ham to weigh them down so that they are submerged in the brines. So you're going to just put these in the fridge and let them sit in the brine for 5 days. All right, you can't see, it's been 5 days, and I have a 5-gallon bucket of brine that I've brought in with the 2 roasts that have been in it for 5 days. Like we talked about, one of them was smaller and I already pulled it out and smoked it, so that one's done. So I have 2 here. The next step you're going to do when you take them out of the brine, and I won't do it because it's noisy, but you're going to rinse them really well with cold water. And then I'm going to empty the brine out of that bucket and fill the bucket back up with cold water. And we're going to rinse, 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 rinse. And then we're going to put them in the bucket of cold water and just let them soak in the cold water for an hour. And then I will come back and I'll show you what we do after that. All right, these have been sitting in this water, just soaking to pull some of the extra salt out for an hour. And it is 6:45 p.m., which is about perfect because we are going to let these sit in the fridge overnight. So let's see if I can do this without, I have an apron on because I always get myself wet and then my clothes are ruined. I don't wear nice clothes in the kitchen, but I have to because I'm on camera. So I'm wearing my nice clothes and I'm trying not to ruin them. Let me get this out. It is a 10-pound gorgeous fresh ham. I'm just going to set it in a tray in the sink, and then we're going to pat it dry. Just not, you know, it doesn't have to be super, super dry, but I try and pat it dry as much as you can with some paper towels. And then this is a great use for old cookie sheets. If you have old cookie sheets that are starting to look kind of ratchet, which I do, put a little rack on them. I think you can probably see that, right? Cookie sheet with a rack. And we're going to put these on there and pull out the other one. And then these are going to go open just like that. They're going to go in the refrigerator. Again, you need some room in the fridge. We have an extra fridge just for this kind of stuff. So I'm going to put these, I'm going to get these in on the racks and in the fridge, and I will see you tomorrow when we turn on the smoker. All right, so I got up at 7 a.m. The hams have been in. I turned on the smoker around 7:15, and I put them in about a little bit before 8 a.m. These are big hams. I've got my little, this is just a Bradley smoker that this is all we've ever used. I get the temp up to, you can see there, usually I keep it between 150 and 200. It's a little high right now, so I just vented the top a little bit more. And I've got little spacers that come with it. So I've got 4 and then a spacer of the little briquette biscuit thing. These are the biscuits that come with it. I use the maple. And these went in, I'm just kind of trying to keep track. These went in around 8 a.m. and we're going to see what time they come out. So they've been in here for about 3 hours. And this is what we're looking like so far. So what I will do is watch this throughout the day. The biscuits drop down on a little thing that burns them in the bottom, and then they drop into a bowl of water, basically. And so I have to watch that and make sure I clean that out and refill the water now and then. But I'm going to just let these sit. And they've only been 3 hours, and these are 10-pound hams. So once they get a little bit more time in here, I will put my thermometer down through the top and into the deepest part of one of these hams. And when we get to about 132 degrees, I will mix up a glaze. And all I use for my glaze is just maple and brown sugar, and or sometimes orange and brown sugar. And I just literally take a bowl of brown sugar and add maple or orange juice until it's a thick enough glaze to spread on the meat. So that is all I do. At 135, I will glaze, take them out of the smoker, bring them inside, and glaze all around both sides of them. And then that's the first glaze. And then we'll wait until they get closer to 140 and I'll glaze them again. And then usually I will pull these out when they hit about 145. I used to go to 150, but 140 is what they say is a cooked, a smoked ham is finished at 140. And I've seen temps range all over the place, but I am going to stick with my 145 to 150 mark. So I will see what time these come out, and I'll just give you guys a peek kind of as we go along. We'll peek in there and see how lovely they look and then how they look at the end. Okay, this has just hit 135 degrees. This one's a little bit smaller of the two hams, so I just brought it inside, and I have just mixed up a little bit of brown sugar with enough orange juice to make it more like a glaze, and this is just sitting on an old rack. See if I can do this with one hand, and we're just going to brush that lovely glaze all over this ham, and then it's going to go back out, and I'm going to pull it out again when it hits 140, and we'll do this so it has to go up another 5 degrees, and we'll glaze it again, and then we put them back in. They'll both be, I'll pull out the other one here in a minute too, but I'm just doing this one to show you guys. Just glaze the whole thing, and then we'll do it again at 140, and then I'm just gonna put them back in, and I will pull them out of the smoker when they reach an internal temperature of 145, and they are going to be amazing. All right, we are at 144. We have just glazed these once, and they've been in there for about another half hour. And I'm gonna just take a look and see. So we've got one glaze on these so far, and they're looking really nice and delicious. And I'm gonna come back and glaze them a second time and give them about another 15 minutes in here, because we are already at 144, and I'm probably going to pull them out between 144 and 150. So I'm going to get these out of here, put a second glaze on them, and then we're going to pull them out. We are ready to pull these out. They have been in here cooling for just a few minutes, but these both hit 145 internal temp. So I'm going to go ahead and pull those in and get them inside to sit on the counter and just rest a little bit. And then we will get them wrapped in the fridge overnight. And then I always slice these, but you could wrap them and freeze them and save them to serve whole later at a great party. And here they are, the finished hams. You can see how gorgeous that looks on a platter. If you were wanting to just serve that, you could do that and just let it rest a little bit and then slice away. And here's the other one just resting on the rack. And you can see a really nice, crackly, delicious, sweet outside glazed layer. These are delicious, and I will cut into one of them after they rest here in a minute, and we'll take a look and see what they look like inside. And you can see how beautiful that looks. So these are fully finished, so you could freeze these and just warm them up to serve them again if you wanted to later. But what I will do is, we have a meat slicer, so I will actually let these cool all the way overnight. That looks delicious. I will let them cool overnight in the spare refrigerator, and then I will actually put the meat slicer on the counter here, and I package them in really thin sliced, you know, like deli sliced ham, in packages of about 10 ounce, and then we use them for snacking and for sandwiches and for little impromptu snack plates. So there you have it. Beautiful, smoked, double glazed, brown sugar and orange juice ham done at home in your own smoker. So if you're going to do this, it takes about a week from start to finish if you start with defrosted hams. I hope this inspires you to try this. This is not that hard, and it is so worth the effort. You should definitely give it a whirl. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.